In the second video, we are gonna talk deeply on yoga, its connections with the occultism and other health disease, and its opposition to the first commandment of God. Before the following of the explanation, it's important to be clear that although the Gnosticism have arisen among the pagan civilization, such people didn't lack to have right to the salvation. Indeed, the Catholic Church has an expression to define this situation, which is called invincible ignorance. That is, that people were not guilty to ignore the revelation, simply because they didn't have ways to know it. It's the case of tribes or people living in remote places, for example. The God's judgment for these people will be based exclusively on the natural law, which was printed in the heart of each man. Well, returning to the subject, yoga, we can meet a summary very well described by the Lassalist brother named Max Sculley from Australia. In his book Yoga, Tai Chi, Reiki, A Guide for Christians, he mentioned the 4 pillars from yoga, which are the following. Firstly, we have the positions, which are the best way to honor Hindu gods or important personalities from Hinduism. In other words, if you perform some yoga position, surely you are honoring a pagan god. There is no escape. The second pillar is the respiration. Its control, letting it more and more slow, allows to drain our mind, generating an altered state of conscience. This voluntary abstention of our conscience drop our defenses against the diabolic action because restrains the rationality domain. Other pillar of yoga is the concentration. Concentration in the respiration or in nothing. Sculley mentions that a Hindu master converted to the Catholicism who he knew talked that the altered conscious state was the same that he experienced when used drugs. And the last pillar is the mantra recitation, which in general honor the feats, qualities, and abilities of icons from Hinduism. But you could think an alternative to the regular yoga, using only the respiration and concentration techniques, avoiding to perform positions and to recite mantras. Maybe, could this be healthy? No? Unfortunately, not. A brother, friend from Max Sculley, was allowed by his head of the monastery to develop a new type of yoga with no positions and no mantras recitation, even though the remotion of these important steps of the yoga rite, the father started losing the interest by the divine reading and acquired a high interest by astrology and a strange capacity to predict future events. That is, he acquired powers like a sorcerer. So, this does not come from God. This is a danger. Stay away from it. Here you can see some common yoga positions to reverence the Hindu gods or to honor important personalities of the Hinduism. In this first image, for example, you have the position to reverence the wise man Astavakha. In the second one, you have a position to reverence the monkey god Hanuman. In this other one, you have the reverence to yoga warrior Virabhadra. In this other position, you have the reverence to Shiva and her divine dance. This other one shows the reverence to the wise Vasishta, a writer of sacred texts. And in the last one, you have the reverence to Matsindra, the Lord of the Fishes. These and many other positions of yoga related to the reverence of Hindu gods you can see in the site Eckhart Yoga. So you need to have pretty clear in your mind that here in the Western society, where we have access to all the necessary information on the truth and on the gospel, it's not allowed for us to be taken in traps like this. You need to know that performing some of these positions, you will be violating the first commandment. That is, you shall not have other gods before me. So take care and don't take risks. Also, very important is to hear what yoga former instructors, now converted to the Catholicism, have to talk about yoga. Mike Shreve, for example, is one of them and states the following. In the Western, yoga is presented as a way to seek self-conscious of peace, truth, enlightenment, and relaxing techniques, but there is a life's philosophy behind it, with the aim to allow your soul to reach a development grade capable to gather your soul to the divine conscience. Everett Roeth, other former yoga instructor, converted, goes straight to the point and is very clear. Yoga is a Hindu religious ritual. In the Hindu history, the Vedas writings were produced by wise ancient, which received divine revelations in order to allow the union of the soul with Brahma, the universal conscience. There are many paths to the yoga teaching, being the Kundalini yoga and the Bhakti yoga, the deepest ways to reach the deal. And pay attention for what Depak Chopra talks about this. Depak Chopra is maybe one of the most famous yoga instructors in the world. Although yoga be commonly presented as a popular fitness tendency, indeed, it's the inner of the Vedic science, developed over the last 5,000 years. Yoga means the union with the existence source. It's a lightening state where you meet the full freedom. Pay attention. Full freedom comes from anarchic socialism, which is opposed to the Catholic Church. It does not come from God. Certainly, it comes from devil. And here we have further information about Bhakti Yoga and Kundalini Yoga, which are deeper ways to dive in these Oriental techniques. Like most traps of the devil, for the yoga beginners who start performing that four common yoga practice, position, respiration, concentration, and mantras recitation, they slowly feel attracted by the possibility of spiritual growing or union with divine conscience and go towards deeper and more dangerous techniques. Thus, in the Bhakti Yoga, the chants and recitations take most of the time, with the constant invocation of the so-called Hindu gods. In turn, in the Kundalini Yoga, you try to seek vigorously some kind of energy located in the lower chakra in the bottom of your spine in order that this energy goes up to the next chakras until reach the upper chakra located in the head. An interesting fact is that this energy flows cools the chakra where it is leaving from and hits that one where it is coming in. It's important to emphasize that this energy flows is always described as the movement of a serpent among the chakras, characterizing all the Kundalini Yoga texts. Should we not wonder why this movement is described as the displacement of such a treacherous animal? Would be because its results may not be that expected by the practitioners? Probably yes, because the reports of people who participated of Kundalini Yoga not seem to come from who is in the way of the true or of the God or of spiritual evolution. Quite the opposite. This search for spiritual evolution by means of Bhakti or Kundalini Yoga have exposed the people to even greater evils. Here I present you two results that can come from this immersion. The first one is the entering in the world of drugs. Yes, by means of the use of cannabis and LSD, targeting to accelerate this process of search of spiritual growth. And it's not my conclusion. This is exposed in the site Jet Setter magazine Cannabis Yoga Retreat, where you can see a huge commercial structure of transport, stay for the collective use of drugs in order to reach this spiritual evolution target. That is, it's a pretty profitable business. We also have a journal article from Karen Morgan of 2019 in the site The Third Wave, in which she talks about the psychedelic yoga. In this article, she claims that trained um, psychanalysts, as the physicians Stanislav Grof and Christina Grof, confirmed that this yoga immersion has the same mental effect produced by the use of drugs like LSD. This is in the book Psychology of the Future, wrote by Stanislav Grof. But this is not the only result of deeper yoga techniques. We can see also the rising of mental disease, like to psychosis, schizophrenia, and some cases of spiritual disease and diabolic possession. This is not a joke, friends. These results are in a scientific work published in the Indian Journal of Medical Psychology from 2022 by the researchers Dhankar and Kumar. That is, this prank may really affect our health and soul. And in the next slide, you will see a summary of this case described in the article where a girl developed a psychotic state due to the Kundalini yoga practice. As showed before, I bring here the description reported in the scientific article about Kundalini Yoga and Psychosis. The article name is Awakening of Kundalini Chakras Presenting as Psychosis, a case report from 2022. In this case, a 19 years old girl arrived at the emergency room of a hospital with the following symptoms: mutism, which is absence of the need to speak, poor oral intake, and sustained body rigidity for a long time, 1 week more or less. Due to the symptoms, she was treated with psychiatric medication, and after some time, she was interviewed to obtain more information. She informed that she had been practicing Hatha Yoga and Kundalini Yoga for 3 months, and that after the first month, she began to feel the characteristic effect of energy flowing between the chakras. She also reported that she began to hear people around her talk about her and also to hear voices saying what she should do in her daily life. She began to wake up frequently in the early morning to practice yoga and meditate. Over the course of days, she stopped eating, speaking, and took a characteristic yoga position, which she could no longer undo, requiring medical attention. So, my friends, it's not a prank, okay? It's not a joke. We need to take care and keep our body, our soul far from these traps of devil, okay? We will finalize our work presenting the part 3, which treats about the acupuncture and its connection with the gnosis.